Hello, welcome to Living Figuratively. This is the 30th episode, and this episode is going to be neat, sweet, and petite because I'm going to be rushing off to the 75th Ohio Annual, which will be at the Zanesville Museum of Art virtually, and there's a online Zoom art reception, which is happening right about now. I'm going to join just a little bit late, but I'm going to real quick tell you about the painting of mine that is in the show, which is this one right here. It's called Emilie, the 10th Muse, the one who sees. Emilie right here is a gem she's a hidden gem at art openings because she is a creator she's a appreciator of art, she's a lover of art, she's a patron of all things visual, and she's not an art maker herself. Which is why when she offered to pose for me, I knew that I wanted her to pose for the Goddess Project, and I knew I wanted her to be a muse, which is why this one is called Emilie, the 10th Muse, the one who sees. An artist's muse is basically somebody that an artist is inspired by to paint, and paint sometimes obsessively over and over and over again, maybe because they look the way the artist likes to paint, or they embody certain characteristics. For me, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I love to paint older people, and the fact that Emilie is such an appreciator of art and such a literal muse just made it that much sweeter for me to paint her. And since in Greek mythology, I researched a little bit and I wanted to make her a muse, I looked at all the muses. There is no muse for the visual arts. They have crazy ones for Talia, the cheerful one. They have Erota, the lovely one. They have Melaponine, who is the one who sings. They even have muses for remembering things and for astronomy, but they don't have a muse for the visual arts. So I decided to make Emilie the 10th Muse. Some of the details to note in this painting. For the pose, since she's an art appreciator and collector, I borrowed the pose from John Singer Sargent's painting of Isabella Stewart Gardner, who is an iconic collector and the founder of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. So I borrowed Emilie's pose from this painting. Isabella Stewart Gardner has a mandorla around her head, which is kind of a halo, but it's also sort of, she was meant to be representing a Byzantine Madonna or a pagan deity. And so with this mandorla, for what I did for Emilie's painting is I made her mandorla out of paintbrushes, out of my beautiful paintbrushes. I picked my prettiest ones. Which is befitting of a muse of the visual arts. So I did that. And one of the other things I did to bring it into the 21st century, Emilie is wearing a Front International bracelet, one of those bracelets that get you into different events. That is reminiscent of, and it was actually going on at the time, Front International, which was Cleveland's first, biggest, best summer international art festival that went on in the summer of 2018, and Emilie was at every single one of the possible venues and things that you could do that whole summer. So she had her wrist bracelet on. Her sari that she's wearing is an exotic print from an exotic land that I got at an exotic fair trade store in Lakewood, Ohio, of all places, because I thought that the bright colors, the bright primary colors, were very reminiscent of the movies Coco and Toy Story 3, which coincidentally, and this also cements her position as an artist's muse, she is the mother of Lee Unkrich, who is the two-time Academy Award-winning director of Toy Story 3 and Coco. So that really kind of cemented her role as the artist's muse, and this painting is the one that is included in the show at the Ohio Annual at the Zanesville Museum of Art. Now, let me give you just the tiniest little bit of background about the Zanesville Museum of Art. I've been entering the Ohio Annual there for the past 7 years. Sometimes I get in, sometimes I don't. And the whole time, every single time I go down for the opening, I chat with the museum director, Lane Snyder, about having a Chips with Balls show going down there. And it's always been very positive, a lot of chatting about it, but we never really cemented the date. And always the date's kind of the sticking thing. Finally, I'm going to call you over down here. Finally, in 2018, I won Best in Show with this painting, Ephemera Collector. So at that point, we cemented the date. And the date was February 13th to 2020. And at the time, we had no idea what 2020 was going to be like or what it was going to hold. But 2020 happened, and like I said, it was all full of awesomes and awfuls. The good thing was that the show was able to open, and it stayed open for a whole month. Bad thing was COVID hit, and then the museum closed down for lockdown, and it stayed there for about 5 months, but nobody else could see it. I even wrote about this particular thing, the way that my personal COVID story, COVID-19 2020 story in the Can Journal, in their summer journal, which is sort of a commemorative one about, COVID and how it affected the art community. And so I put that together there. And now I'm going to release you from my thrall and let you get going to the actual 75th Ohio Annual Art Opening. If you've hopefully registered by Zoom. If you haven't already registered by Zoom, I'm not sure you can join at this point, but I'm sure they'll be putting it online so you can watch it later. If you want to see the whole show, all the information for that is also on my website. It's basically the whole show is online on the Zanesville Museum of Art website. So that said, join me next week. Be sure to come back next week real quick for a Halloween treat episode. And it'll be Thursday night, October 29th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same bat time, same bat channel, no pun intended. And I don't know if one of the things that you've noticed is that I like my canvases red, but I like my state to be blue.